Good morning, everybody. I hope you've had a great week. We're finishing up this week. We're finishing up the Hunger Games, and we're moving on to something new, The Road, which I think is terribly exciting. It's a little bit of a difficult book for a lot of people, and I completely understand. It's slow and it's hard, but it's definitely interesting and definitely worth plugging through. So as you start reading that, or as you have been reading it, pay close attention to what's happening. Don't let the grammar and sentence structure things throw you off because they might be a little bit awkward. For instance, McCarthy does not use quotation marks, so it could make reading dialogue a little bit odd. But there's a couple things I want to talk about. Every semester, every paper, I like to give you visual feedback as a whole. You all got individual feedback based on your papers, but there's a few trends I saw over the course of the papers that I think need to be addressed to help you improve on your next papers. So as you're finishing up your paper you're working on now, your proposal, take this into account, and then definitely as we move forward. Okay. First of all, the papers were really good. You had no problem identifying themes. You used good examples from the book. I really enjoyed them. Some of you pointed out some really interesting themes. I had papers on class. I had papers on survival. I had papers on so many different topics. Gender, that was a really interesting one. So I appreciate your thinking and your varied responses. It made them very fun to read. Also, you do a good job of using examples. Those are fantastic. You pinpointed specifics in the book. I thought that was great. However, on the discussion of examples, a lot of you didn't actually refer back to the text. So what I mean by this is you said, oh, Katniss put the flowers on Rue, because I'm talking about rebellion, right? And Katniss put the flowers on Rue when she when she died. That's great. That's wonderful. But I need a little bit more. Find the specific point in the book and quote it. Find a line that really shows us what that rebellion was and use it. Remember, your job is to prove your argument. Telling me, oh yeah, this thing in the book that happened. Show me where. Page 99. Look what happened here. Look at the words the author uses to do this. Always go back to the book. That's the only way our evidence works. Right? Think about when you have an argument with someone you know, or a friend, or a parent, or I don't know, something like that. You're debating a topic. No one likes to be told, well, that's just because the way it is. That's just because someone out in Missouri did this. And they're going to say, really? Show it to me. Right? Because we have to prove it. We can't just say it happened. We have to say, look, here is this point. Here's this article I found. Here's this text I found. Here is this date. Here are other people involved, right? And that's what you need to do with your arguments. And remember, everything you write is an argument. Okay? On that note, some of the arguments were not very strong. And I want to encourage you to look back at the theme and thesis statement video I posted like a week ago, because I think that's going to help you clarify some problems I saw. You told me the theme is rebellion. Great theme. Not arguing with you there. It's a fantastic theme. But why are you talking about rebellion? What does it matter? What is the author saying about rebellion? Social media, or not social media, but authentic selves. Why are we talking about this? Why does it matter? A lot of you didn't go to that next step, so I'm going to encourage you to please look at that video again. If you still have questions, please contact me. Because what happens is if you just say the paper is about rebellion, you give me examples of rebellion, but the paper never gets anywhere. You might as well bullet point it and say rebellion at the top and then bullet point this example and this example and this example. It's not a paper, right? So you want to take it to that next step. And if you're having trouble, please contact me when you're working on these papers. I will always respond, and I will try to talk through. And we could talk on the phone, we could talk on Skype, we could talk on email. Just please contact me if you're stuck, because I don't want anyone to sit there floundering and saying, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. It's about rebellion, here's a bunch of examples. Okay? Also, outside sources, and this is something I will talk about probably in a video this week, because it's really important, and it's something I've seen not just in past semesters, but this one as well so far. Your outside sources have to be valid. Finding something off a Blogspot is not valid. Yahoo is not valid. SparkNotes is definitely not valid. Why? These people aren't experts in their field. You always want an expert. Right? It's the same reason why you don't trust the internet when you Google your symptoms when you're sick, right? I'm a hypochondriac, so I Google all my symptoms. I'm like, oh gosh, you know, my throat is scratchy. What could this be, right? I know, logically, the internet is not the best place for this. WebMD might be okay, but again, there's still 50 million things that cause a scratchy throat, right? That's the problem with the internet. It's a great source, and you can find a lot of great things. But experts in their field, that's why you go to a doctor. If you're really sick and you don't know what's wrong, you go to a doctor. Why? Because you trust them to give you the right medicine. You trust them to make the right decision. Okay? At least a better decision you and Joe Schmo on the other end of the internet can make. Right? So please utilize your sources carefully. And I will give you a video more about this to help, because I know finding valid sources can be really difficult. But a good place to go is the libraries. We have access to online journals and articles. Some of you found great sources. Some of you used Farr and Clark, that book. Fantastic source. Okay? Sometimes when we get to news articles, I think someone in the class cited some actual event that happened. I want to say it was San Bernardino was cited. What you're going to end up using is a news article, and that's fine. Just find it from a valid source, as non-biased a source as you can. But you needed facts, and that's the only place you're going to find it, right? So that was useful. That was great. Overall, the papers were good. I enjoyed reading them. You all had a lot of interesting things to say. I want you to tighten them up, though. Okay? Please pay attention to the comments I gave you. If you have questions about any of those comments, please talk to me. If you're really not sure, I would rather know that you're not sure than have you just sit there. Last thing, I want to comment on really briefly your post for the week. And a lot of you received this comment, and that's fine because it happens. They're discussion board posts, so they're a little bit less formal, but you still need to cite stuff. If you're going to quote a book or a source, please cite it. Also, you should use, like a paper, you should use the book and outside sources in all of your responses. It helps add credence to what you're saying. Because remember, you're still engaging in academic debate and discussion. Okay? Last thing, I promise. The way I grade A through Z and then Z through A. So, because it takes some time to grade, I want to make sure people in the Z, the end of the alphabet, S through Z, don't always end up with their papers graded back last. So this week I started with the end of the alphabet and moved up. Next week I'll start with the beginning of the alphabet and move down. It's just the way I do it to try to make it as fair as possible. Okay? Like I said, I look forward to reading the rest of your stuff. I look forward to your proposals for the final paper. I also look forward to your final discussions on the Hunger Games. I know I've looked at some of them and I've responded to some of you guys, and they're looking really good. So definitely keep that conversation going through the rest of today. Have a great rest of your weekend, and if you watch the Oscars, may the odds be ever in the favor of the person you want. And I will touch base with you again via video next week, and I will be here if you need me. Bye.